Ho ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. Last time we saw Aoi fight some cultists in a park, and Takumi has gone to school, and we're going to find out what's happening in this hallway right now at the school entrance. After class is finished, I found myself standing still at the school entrance. Twilight was beginning to encroach upon the sky, and a few crows were flying across it, flapping their wings without so much as a call. I was waiting for Rimi. It was her turn to clean the bathroom, in the classroom, so she was taking longer than usual. We hadn't promised to go home together today, but I was sure we would. So, waiting for that to happen, I'd been standing there for over 15 minutes. I had no idea how the day would go this morning, but I managed to make it through. Make it through it. But I'd managed to make it through it. I guess that makes sense. With fairly little trouble. Masumi-kun was so desperate to talk with the transfer student that he dropped the subject about me and Ayase entirely. I owed it all to the transfer student, really. Oh, let's go for bad this time, right? Oh, there she is. Speak of the devil. There she was, passing right next to me. With a face that looked like she was about to cry, she bowed her head to me. Despite how uncomfortable I felt, I managed to nod back. I watched as she attempted to leave through the school gate, tripping over herself along the way. Once again, I thought about how small she was. She fit the lowly archetype to a T, and on top of that, she was a clumsy girl too. Don't get gross, Takumi. I didn't know her very well, but her perfect blend of personalities made me want to shout from the rooftops. She was loaded with Mo traits. And yet, she didn't seem very popular with the other girls. What people valued in others really did differ between 2D and 3D, huh? My vision suddenly went pitch black. I felt something push against my eyes. What the hell? Who is it? Oh, someone has come behind and cupped their hands around your eyes in that cute way. Who is that? No fucking way. Could this be the legendary Who Is It game? The legend stated it only exists within the world of 2D, yet she'd said the classic line. Could it be? Could it well and truly be? I never thought I'd ever experience it in my lifetime. As of right now, I'd basically won the game of life. Of course, I immediately knew the answer. After all, I was trained in the art of working out the voice actor just by hearing an anime character talk. But saying it's obviously you, Rimi, would be pretty embarrassing. How should I answer? What was that? Uh-oh, I can hear the wheelchair. So, don't know the answer. There was someone there. I could sense the presence of someone other than Rimi. Since my vision was obscured, my hearing was particularly sensitive. In the location where we were now, someone other than Rimi and I was there. And there was the sound of creaking metal. Oh god. Whose eyes are those eyes? My body was instantly seized by fear. Was that Rimi talking then, or was that the Shogun? I tried to shake off Rimi's hand, but she held it firmly. Where do you think you're going? Answer the questions, silly. No cheating allowed. This was weird. Something was very, very wrong here. Why was she acting so carefree? Hadn't she noticed it? Or was she just pretending not to? I couldn't stand the fear of not being able to see what was going on, so I grabbed the delicate hands covering my eyes and ripped them away. Taku. Remy fought back even harder. As a result, we ended up wrestling a bit with each other and Remy collided with my back. I felt the soft sensation of her bulging chest. Gross. Takumi, rein it in. But now wasn't the time to rejoice in that fact. Let me go. I somehow managed to shove Remy's hands aside and jump away. I then turned back toward her. Where is he? Where is Shogun? The only thing I saw was Remy, standing there with a bewildered look. I looked around the area, trying to find a wheelchair. But there was nothing. He isn't here. That doesn't... I couldn't see him anywhere. Not in the large sport courts and not by the entrance. There wasn't a single sign of an old man riding in a wheelchair. I'm sorry, Taku. Did I scare you? Remy looked very apologetic. It didn't seem like an act either. Was there someone there just now? What? An old man in a wheelchair. Remy tilted her head. I don't think so. I didn't see anyone. Were they with you before I got here? No, that's not what I meant. That's not what I became less and less confident in my assumption. Oops. I just missed some text. Even though I was so sure I'd heard those things. The sound of a wheelchair creaking. Shogun's chuckle. It was like he was mocking me. And whose eyes are those eyes? Had I hallucinated it? Was I really that anxious? That was probably it. It was probably nothing more than that. It's okay. Remy smiled at me, except it felt forced this time. I'll walk home with you, so there's no need to be afraid. Okay? Relief flooded into me from her words. Then, guided along by Remy, we headed toward the school gate. Sumai Academy was in the high-end residential area of Shoto. Every house was huge, and the whole area just oozed with an air of success and affluency. Despite this being Shibuya, and still daytime at that, there were hardly any people around. It gave the area this forlorn, lonesome air. Hey, Taku. You're surprisingly popular, huh? What? I nearly died just then. What the hell was she talking about? What is she talking about? Did you not realise that? With a chuckle, Remy shot her index finger toward the tip of my nose. Don't point at people. It's rude, goddammit. I mean, you were that pretty third-year girl. No, you were with that pretty third-year girl just the other day. The one with the glasses. Well... I know. You already told me yesterday. It's not anything nice. She's just been picking on you. If you knew that, then why are you... But it's not just her. Today you're talking with the Fez herself. Next up was Arihara-san. On the very morning she transferred, the first thing she did was talk to you. And after that, after all that, you now find yourself heading home with me. See? You really are a popular guy. Actually, I had been thinking about that recently. Has my life as a normie begun? My popular time's finally here. Stuff like that. Something that would have been absolutely unthinkable for me a month ago. Back then, I'd never had the chance to even talk to 3D girls. Excluding Nanami. Well, that's your sister. I don't know whether that counts. I always boasted about not being into 3D girls, but That was just to make myself look cool and indifferent. So Remy was definitely onto something. Why had my encounters with girls increased with such frequency lately? It had all kicked off after that chat with Shogun. A scary thought suddenly crossed my mind. What if every single event in this past month had all been a delusion? What if I'd just been having a really, really long dream? Considering how insane everything was, I didn't think I'd be all that surprised if everything just went right back to normal tomorrow. Or maybe the person controlling me had swapped out with someone else. Maybe the previous one was happy just watching me go through the motions, but the new one preferred to interact with other characters or something like that. Either way, the past month didn't feel entirely new to me. Way too many things have been happening. Oh right, I just found out about it today. I can't believe Fez is in the same school as us. And she's in the same year as us too. The class next door even. How would you not know about that? I feel like everyone will be talking about it. Remy's voice was overflowing with excitement. I guess Remy was quite the trend chaser. I only just borrowed that CD from you yesterday, so it's even crazier. Not to mention she's really cute too. Remy circled around in front of me. While still facing me, she began to walk backward. Her voice got all quiet and then she asked me a question timidly. So, what were you two talking about? I mean this morning. You and Fez, Kishimoto-san. I really, really want to know. I know it's not really my place to ask, but when you were talking with Kishimoto-san, he seemed really troubled about something. Ever since then, I've been kind of worried about you. She'd seen completely through me. I guess it wouldn't be a bad idea to tell her everything. It wasn't like I had other people to talk about it, plus agonizing over it on my own had gotten pretty exhausting. I'd appreciate another perspective. Not from someone who's spoken nothing but vague, ambiguous bullshit like Ayase and Sina, but from someone that would give actual concrete answers to my concerns. But when we talked yesterday, she hadn't believed me at all. We were talking about the sword thing. The sword thing? You mean what we talked about yesterday? I nodded. Ayase has one. Has one what? A real one. I wasn't completely sure, but I thought I heard Remy taking in a large breath. She staggered with her eyes open wide, and then after taking a few steps back. There's no way. She shouted with a clearly skeptical voice. Oh, okay, I didn't shout. I mean, that was a toy, right? Yeah. Mine was a toy, but hers is the real deal. If you go to her concerts, you'll see. I quickly realized what I was saying and cut myself off. Would she even be able to see it? I mean, Ayase had mentioned that only people with powers could see D-swords. Okay, so what you're telling me is I'll be able to see a real one if I go to a concert? Well, I would like to check out one of Phantasm's concerts sometime, so I could just look for it then. Oh, we could go together to one if you want. You might not be able to see it. Only a certain subset of people can. Oh, really? Like, in the Emperor's New Clothes? Well, considering I'm kinda dumb, I probably won't be able to see it. As if. Actually, that was a good point. Come to think of it, I didn't know anything about what exactly a real D-sword was, nor how it worked. I'd just been accepting everything Ayase said without question. Does a sword like that really exist? I find it pretty hard to believe. Are you sure the sword Kishimoto-san has isn't some super realistic toy? But it was glowing. There's all kinds of toys that glow, though. Well, she wasn't wrong. If you wanted something to glow, you could easily slap some lights onto it. When I thought of the overwhelming sense of presence Sina and Ayase's swords had, their existence became harder to deny. They had an aura about them that no mere toy could have been should have been capable of. And most of all, Ayase had taken that sword out of thin air. I'd seen it with my own eyes. It wasn't anything simple like hypnosis or super speed. On top of that, I felt as if I'd only just gotten to experience the tip of the iceberg. I might have the power to project delusions into reality. I had no definitive proof, but I tried throwing my thoughts at Remy regardless. So that could be why Shogun is targeting me. That was the only possible reason he'd be targeting me. There was nobody more harmless than I was. Otakos were fundamentally harmless beings. I don't know whether that's necessarily true, especially in your case. I feel like you're capable of a lot more heinous stuff. We did shut ourselves away in our own little worlds after all. If we had time to bother denizens of the third dimension, we'd rather spend that in our heads flirting with adorable Mo characters. Is this about that pattern you were looking into yesterday? You have any equipment like that, Taku? I shook my head. Nothing like that. I don't have equipment, but I have the power to do it, maybe. Taku, you're just messing with me, right? Oh, I get it now. Is this all some manga or anime or something? Just as I'd feared. She didn't believe me. But I knew I'd experienced what I was talking about before, with that accident back in elementary school. I tried desperately to explain that to Remy. That I might have been a murderer. I knew Remy might abandon me if I confessed that to her, but I couldn't hide it anymore. I wanted to tell someone. If I did, I could clear the uncertainty in my mind, even if just a little bit. Remy listened to my shaky explanation with a troubled look on her face, remaining silent the entire time, and after I finished talking. Oh, come on. You're overthinking it. She nonchalantly laughed the whole thing off. I'm going to be honest, Taku. This whole thing sounds pretty delusional. You know that, right? Was I really overthinking it? That was a nice thought. But even with that theory, the uncertainty in the depths of my mind hadn't been cleared at all. It'd be great if this was just all a delusion, and that's where the visual novel ended. Where are we now? The smell of dust wafted through an office. An office situated on the second floor of a somewhat old building. We're with Ban now, are we? Sunlight streamed in through the window covering the back wall, turning the fluttering dust into that of a thin, powdery snow. The words plastered onto the window. Frisia Credit Bureau cast a shadow onto a nearby desk. 20 desks were lined up across the floor, with not even a hint of a gap between them. Each one was drowning in an endless sea of documents, papers and files. Piles stacked so high they looked to be on the verge of collapsing. From an outsider's perspective, it looked far more like a publishing company than a credit bureau. Most of the desks lacked denizens. There were only around 5 to 6 people at best. As for why that was, the obvious conclusion would be that it was a Saturday, but this was by no means the answer. This was made evident by the whiteboard stuck to the wall near the entrance. Its schedule densely packed with tasks and projects. Nearing the end of his lunch break, Ban Yasuji opened the door to the private investigation company. He entered without so much as a knock, yet none of the workers seemed to bat an eye. Continued to act as if he belonged there, Ban gave a quick, "How's it going?" and headed toward the desk at the back of the room. In it sat a robust-looking woman, hunched over a laptop.
Hey there, Mama-chan. Working hard or hardly working, you know what I mean?
In response, the woman continued staring at her monitor with a weary expression. Her name was Momose Katsuko, and she was the president of Frisia.
Look! Look who's back!
Yep, I'm still kicking. Any new tidbits on New Gen?
My word, I'm a busy woman here, Ban-chan. To say I have a lot on my plate would be an understatement. Small businesses like mine have to make sacrifices, and that includes our Saturdays. Don't make me crabbier than I already am.
Momose finally raised her head. She placed a hand on her forehead and, upon seeing Ban's grinning face, lightly shook her head.
How many times have I told you that this isn't some secret police organization or subsidiary thereof? I'm sure you think you can just storm in here and mine us for all the information we've got. But I'm not running a charity here. If you have the free time to spend coming here, spend it on your own investigations, Mr. Civil Servant. Alternatively, you could actually pay the retaining fee. If you'd rather do that, please take an appointment sheet from Mio-chan at your earliest convenience.
Youch. The big cheese has got bite. Come on, we're friends here.
In spite of Momose's sharp remarks, Ban didn't show a hint of concern. He simply fanned himself with his distinctive handheld fan, remaining aloof as he could be.
To think, I'd be treated like this even after I helped get this place off the ground when it opened. You're breaking my heart.
For goodness sake, Ban-chan, how many more years are you going to keep holding that over my head? I swear, someone gives you an inch and you take a mile.
Ha 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 ha! You got me there. Fine, I yield. How's this for a retaining fee?
Ban showily pulled out a plastic bag with the name of a nearby Japanese-style confectionery store on it.
Oh, you. Why didn't you just open with that, you silly goose? Appreciated as always. Mio-chan, would you be a dear and make us some tea?
Her attitude having undergone a swift, stark change, Momose closely examined the contents of the bag Ban had handed to her.
Oh my, chestnut yokon. I suppose they are in season now, aren't they? I didn't even have to ask. Ban-chan, what are you still standing around for? Come, sit down already.
Why, thank you.
Oh, hello. Ban gave a wry smile, took a chair from the closest desk, and seated himself beside Momose. The clerical lady Momose had called for before. The clerical lady Momose had called for before brought over 2 steaming cups of tea.
So, got any new tidbits on New Gen?
Hold your horses now.
Momose carefully unwrapped the chestnut yokon, folded up the wrapper and set it beside her PC. She then hurriedly devoured the first of the sweet treats. Japanese-style treats were her greatest weakness. They were a necessary offering for Ban to bring every time he came for information.
Whiff is so scrumptious.
I might not be the one to talk here, but have you thought about slimming down recently? There's a whole bunch of diets out there.
What the fuck, Ban?
Otherwise, you might never find yourself a husband before you shrivel up completely.
Okay, well, you trying to get information from her? You're trying to be nice to her, right?
You're right. You're not one to talk. Besides, I'm long past the age where I'd still be on the market.
With a shrug of her shoulders, Momose took a sip from her tea, then turned to face Ban.
You realise another new gen case happened, right? Should you really be skipping out on work right now?
All the others are already breaking their backs investigating it. Thought I might try to get out the truth from a different angle.
Oh, please. I'd suggest that you stop trying to act so suave. It really doesn't suit you.
Burn. Knowing himself to be quite sensitive to hot drinks, Ban showed no hint of reaching for his cup. He simply continued to fan his face in spite of the already chilly air. It was something of a habit of his. Who is saying this? Her, right?
Are the police looking into the GE rate?
Ah, I see.
Oh right, the GE raid. Now, that one really threw me for a loop. It was exactly like you said, Momo-chan.
Of course it was. I never dream of handing over false info. Information is how I keep food on my table after all. So, are they looking into it?
Well, I certainly am. I'm taking the initiative to do it myself.
Ban-chan, you wouldn't dare!
Momose's voice carried well. Her personality was intrinsically energetic, lending her voice quite a bit of volume. The workers of Freesia were used to this, not even batting an eye, as her angry voice reverberated throughout the office. The boss's yelling was an everyday occurrence after all. Ban and Momose were old friends, so he was all too familiar with being on the receiving end of it. Thus, much to her chagrin? How'd you say that word? Chagrin. Momose's wrath was met only with him lazily picking at his ear. Before she said anything else, Momose quickly lowered her voice, for this was a topic she did not want met with prying ears. But her face was red with anger, as if she had not been cheerfully stuffing herself with sweets just moments before. She pointed her finger at Ban with tremendous intensity.
Didn't I make it absolutely clear that following that lead on your own would be dangerous? Politics, religion, and business. Do you have any idea how deeply rooted it is in all three? You should know all too well what happened to Professor Ota after he gave that GE rate lecture on TV.
Yeah, he was killed in the crucifixion. This isn't the first time you've told me.
Oh, okay.
And it won't be the last either. I'll keep on saying it until you get it through that thick skull of yours. You always ignore my warnings. And I'm always the one to clean up your mess. I'm fed up with it.
Simmer down now. The tea's getting cold. Why not have a sip and cool off along with it?
Ignoring both Ban and her tea, Momose tossed a second chestnut yakon into her mouth in a huff.
This really isn't something to...
Oh, hang on. Yes.
This really isn't something to get all worked up about. Besides, Sua's helping me out. To an extent. As things are, convincing the head honchos up top about something as outlandish as GA rates isn't easy.
I acknowledge that Sua-chan is both capable and reliable, but so help me, if you overwork that poor boy...
Oh, I see. So I'm trying to work out who's talking right now.
Since when are you looking out for him? Testing out what it's like to be a mother hen.
No, I just can't have you getting him all wrapped up in your mad schemes, Ban-chan. He's got a bright future ahead of him, and I won't let you squander that.
Alright, fair enough.
With a shrug of resignation, Ban took a testing sip of his tea only to immediately grimace. It was still too hot.
Be honest with me though. Is it really possible for biorhythms to make people go insane? To drive them to murder?
Who is saying that? It could be Ban, it could be her. Okay, let's just say it's Ban.
I've already explained this all to you. Actually, I can't claim to fully understand it myself. Ha 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 ha.
Does it have something to do with your speciality? EM waves? Let's have a think. What was it let us say? So maybe that was Ban saying, oh, whatever. Mimose let out a sigh, then in contrast to Ban, composedly sipped at her tea. You're familiar with how nights with a full moon often have more cases occur in them? No, have more cases occur on them, yes?
Somewhat.
A vast influx of incidents and accidents would always occur on the night of a full moon. This was no urban legend either. One need only glance at the Tokyo Metropolitan Police's statistical records. Who is talking? And what do you think would happen if the biorhythm curve increased by a power greater than a full moon? That's gotta be banned, surely. More stimulation? Yeah?
That's all.
Shibuya is a special city, I mentioned that, yes?
When the G rate gets high, the biorhythm curve increases.
Who is it gonna be?
What's more, the increase far exceeds the effect of a full moon night. To be precise, it's approximately 6,800 times more intense. That number ain't all that easy to visualize. It's in a completely different ballpark, think of it like that. So, why is it happening now?
I imagine it's because of what Professor Otis had said before he was killed. How the GE rate has been rapidly increasing over the past half year. Though that should be impossible, as long as there aren't any massive changes in the Earth's strata, that is.
Changes, eh? Like?
You need enough energy for a volcano to erupt in Scramble Crossing.
A volcano? That's strong.
At least, that's not the only way to explain how the GE rate got like it is now. And the professor that tried to bring this to the world's attention was killed as a part of a new gen. Did you hear about how, on the day prior to the incident, the TV show the professor was supposed to appear on was suddenly cancelled?
That's so.
Well, you know, reread this in your own time with whoever you want, because I can't work out who's talking. An acquaintance of mine overheard a conversation between a few workers at MHK. There aren't many folks. No, hang on, this is Ban.
There ain't many folks out there that can twist the arm of a show broadcasted by the state. Surely that narrows it down.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the details. If I was, I would have gone over who was behind it a long time ago. And next time we'll go over the details. More what's the right word? This might be my worst ending yet. Next time we'll go over the details and work out exactly what's going on. Sorry guys. It's early in the morning. Thank you for watching this episode of Chaos Head. I will see you next time. Have a good evening. Bye bye. I'll do better next time. Bye bye.